Hello, this is Shera Inspires again, and I'm speaking to you from Nairobi, Kenya. And I want to thank God. I always thank God for the gift of life, the gift of sight, the gift of hearing, a roof over my head, the gift of family. I thank God. I don't know what you have to thank God for, but there must be much. So today, let's continue with our blended family series. The topic is quite interesting. There are lots of people who've been asking me to discuss this, and this is the reason why. So as we were talking, we were saying that you're dating this guy and he's got children. Maybe the wife is dead, or the wife could be alive. You're dating this lady, she has children, maybe the husband is dead, or the husband is still alive, they are divorced. Or the lady has never been married, she's got children. You have never been married, but you do have children, and you want to join together in matrimony and have this family that we call blended family. There are lots of families these days, and blended family will be our topic today. So we are looking at the challenges of blended families, and the blended families, there are some people also who call them the bonus families, and they will include children who are either adopted, children from a previous relationship, and you have children from previous relationship, and join and have this happy family, and they lived happily ever after. It's possible. It's a lot of work having to bring up a blended family, but it's possible. Something else that's very important is the ages of the children. If you get into a blended family scenario and the children are younger, so meaning that, for example, the parents are not alive and the children come into your life younger, they are able to adapt easier. But when they are older, then they know their parents and they know how they started and everything. It gets a little more difficult, but not all the time. So let's be positive. Let's not just assume that all is not well, because it's possible. Happiness, it all depends with you. And one of the greatest challenges is that if you do not start with, you do not start with the I say, before I say I do. Meaning that you have quoted, you've spoken at length about many matters, you've spoken about where you're going to live, you've spoken about finances, you've spoken about in-laws, you've spoken about this family, you've spoken about schooling, you've spoken about the exes, all these things, and you've even tried to learn your partner's children by trying to create time with them, not just winning them over by buying them gifts, but really getting to know who they are, because these children are coming into a relationship where you have your set values, they're different, and other set values, and you want to combine these values, and every day is a learning process. You're learning from him, he's learning from you, and the children are learning from both of you. And depending on the background of your relationship as to why you're remarrying, why you're divorced, or maybe why you're widowed, there are very many families that are blended these days. I'm speaking to you from Nairobi, Kenya, and this was not the norm here. We used to watch it, and thought that it used to happen in other parts of the world and not in Africa or maybe in Kenya, but well, this is happening more and more. And the most interesting thing is that now the lives are out there on social media. People are posting, they're saying I'm in this family and posting everything, no secrets. And that can also have its positive and the negative, because it can create a bit of jealousy, from the exes that you've moved on and this is how you're doing, and you're posting everything and updating them. Sometimes it ain't really good for your enemies to always catch up with you and know exactly what you're doing, like your day-to-day activities, your life. It's also good to be a little private. So point number one, if you had not discussed the before I say I do, you can watch my video on this. This will obviously bring you problems, because it means you did not have enough time for courtship. Point number two, when you want to continue your life as was, you were in a relationship on your own with children before he came in. He was in a relationship before you joined him. And whatever way that you were running your families was different, and you want to get into this blended family just the way you are, like nothing new has happened, that will make you clash big time. So you have got to change your ways. You've got to change the rules, and you've got to accept to learn. It's a process, as I said, and it's possible. Point number 3, when you both won't be, you are not on the same page. You're not on the same page because communication is key. In all relationships, communication is key, and more consistent and constant in a blended family, because it involves children that you have come up with, of course, with the intentions of hoping to get other children, especially if you're still young, or maybe you can use surrogate parents to get children. This, of course, is discussed in my point number 1. You need to agree whether you want to have more children, or you're meeting just to come up with this family for companionship and not necessarily wanting any other children. It's possible, and all this should have been discussed. So if you're not on the same page, that's our point number 3. It is a big challenge. And then you also accept interference from others. These others could be your in-laws who have been in your life bringing up the children, your parents who have been in your life bringing up these children, or even teachers, because nowadays children are being brought up by teachers and housekeepers, and then they may interfere with your new beginning. So if you're moving on, then you need to also maybe change the school. You may need to change your housekeepers. You may need to change location to avoid the interference. The in-laws, they'll come, even neighbors, they'll come and start telling these children so many stories about their parents that you may not have discussed with them. So every day you come, there's always something new that the child has been told. Interference. Point number 5, it may cause sibling rivalry. So sibling rivalry is brought about when these children keep fighting over toys, over space in the house, over gifts, over attention. You might find that they may end up hating each other, and they might fight more, and also you need to also give them space. I told you that this depends with the age of the children. If the children are also older and they're having sibling rivalry, and that can also bring about some kind of hit back, whereby if it's a boy, he wants to punish the girl, and some of them may go to great lengths of even harming the girl and doing something bad to her, or maybe getting into a sexual relationship amidst the rivalry. And that also can be a challenge, by the way. And talk about incest. That could be part of it as well, brought about by jealousy, and maybe the young man is thinking, I need to do something, and they get into this. Or sometimes, even if it isn't rivalry, it's the opposite of it, because you hadn't discussed much and had boundaries. They may also end up loving each other, and you get incest, which for us it's a taboo. And now that we are at incest, it's also good to note that you need to have space. You may be getting married with a big daughter, and there are some men who will feel that we don't need to have boundaries, especially nowadays. We are making our children to hug our spouses, and your spouse can feel your child next to him, and it's a big girl, and this can lead to your spouse getting some crazy ideas and thinking that, wow, after all, this is not my natural child, this is my stepchild, we can have a thing. And you find that your relationship is challenged by your own child, or even a mom having a relationship with a stepchild. So avoid that if you want to have a normal family. And also the age of the children, very important. Age is everything, because if the children are younger, then the challenges are different. And if the children are older, the challenges are equally different. So how you communicate with the older children is also different. And how you communicate with the younger children, it's also different. And then the parents, those are the exes now. Are they alive? If they are alive, then you have to confirm that they have moved on, and they're moving on doesn't mean that them watching over you and following you up on what you're doing is moving on, as in they've completely moved on and they accept that you have moved on. Some of them may have died, and this is why you're in this relationship. You've got to accept that these children are also mourning and your spouse is also mourning. So there is grief, there is loss, and you have to also go through this together, because remember, we mourn with those who mourn, and we also get happy and rejoice with those who are happy. And then also the visitation and parenting plans. So if the parents or your exes are alive and they need to organize visitation, this of course will include, maybe they'll come and pick the children from the house and go with them to maybe out or to their new home. You need to organize this. Some cases have gotten out of hand, whereby I remember a case where a father invited his ex-wife to come with the children, and he ended up, murdering all of them, the children, but the mother wasn't killed, because they went to his place, and he said he's taking the children out, so the mom was left in the house, and it got late, and she had to go back home. Then it was getting dark, so she went home and she didn't go with the children. So the next day, the children were found dead, though the mother had actually had a sixth sense, and she had warned her about it, but the girl was like, no, this is the father to my children, so why shouldn't they meet? So you have to be very cautious that you're dealing with people who have accepted to move on, and they are not suffering from any mental challenges, depression, and they are happy for you, and you're happy for them, and you're not stalking each other. Very important. Another challenge is identity confusion. So sometimes the children are unable to identify, like, who am I? So this who am I becomes a problem. They don't know what to call you. I would recommend that you don't use the word step in these families. So they wonder, are we going to call you stepmom? Am I going to call you mommy, stepdad, or dad? And also for you, there's an identity crisis, because maybe you used to be called Mama Wambo, and then you find that Wambo could be younger now. She becomes a second-born. Then you have another child, and this child is now Brian. So you find that you're unable to also now, you're wondering, should I be called Mama Brian, or should I continue to be called Mama Wambo? And then also dad is also wondering the same. He'll be called dad, Baba Nani. That's very common, here in Kenya, you have to be called the father of so-and-so. And also at the same time, you get other children. Maybe 3 other children, and you have James, you have Alex, you have Anne, and there's identity crisis that you're going to be called, who's daddy? Baba Nani. Who's mom? Mama Nani. The identity crisis applies to the whole family. So that also, you have to work on it and decide you're going to be addressed as who. You can be addressed as a mother to all of them, or you can be called by name. And that also, if it's not a taboo in your community, actually you can click on the link below and we can discuss this point further. And then finally, you find that there are challenges of blended families. They have more legal disputes. Already, what we consider as normal families, when they have disputes, like you're wondering, what parcel of land are we going to leave to who, when they're contesting a will. Now, if the family was blended, you find that it gets more complicated. So you may need to write your will in advance if you're a blended family, or discuss, because you come with property, he comes with property, or he comes with property, you come with property, and then this property, how are you going to treat this property? Will your children be, on your will? Do they take what belongs to them lawfully and what belongs to him lawfully, or do you combine these properties, or forget about it? That property was yours, this was his, and start afresh to avoid all these disputes. That is also something to discuss way before, as you discuss friends as well. So ladies, this is great. Always nice talking to you, always nice hearing from you. Asanteni sana, and clouds of blessings, and watch out for the advantages of a blended family, because where there is a negative, there's always a positive, and clouds of blessings.